This is question 40 from book number 1 based on the 2020 NEC, and this is electricaltime.com. A or an blank are the circuit conductors that are between the service equipment and the final overcurrent device. So we've got some choices here. We got branch circuit, appliance branch circuit, feeder, or none of the above. Just want to take 30 seconds to let you know what we do here at electricaltime.com. We do online electrical classes from the comfort of your home. And then we also have this free service. So if you click on the subscribe for free NEC questions, Monday through Friday, you'll get an NEC code question and an answer sent to your email. All right, so back to our video. And the answer to this question is going to be C, feeder. So it's obvious here that we are going to be looking at definitions. And when you're thinking about a definition, most likely you're going to be looking at Article 100, but also in the 2020 code book, we've got definitions that exist in the individual articles too. All right, and you might like this or you might not like this, but in the 2023 code, all the articles are going to be moved to Article 100 definitions. So they're all going to be there, whether you like it or not. I kind of like it. It's one place we can look for it, and it's going to make it a little bit easier to find these definitions, in my opinion. All right, so let's go take a look at what we got here in our textbook, and we've identified that this is going to be Article 100 definitions. That's in Chapter 1 General, and we look at Part 1 General, and then we find feeder. So let's take a look in our code book and let's read the definition of feeder together. It says, all circuit conductors between the service equipment, the source of a separately derived system, or other power supply source, and the final overcurrent circuit overcurrent device. All right, so in my opinion, when you're thinking about a feeder, you can think about you've got your main circuit breaker panel and you're going to be installing a sub panel. And those conductors from the main circuit breaker panel, let's say you're going to put a 100 amp sub panel. So you're going to put in a 2-pole 100 amp breaker. Also be careful about, sizing for the continuous and the non-continuous loads. So you're going to have to read up, and I think that's going to be 215.3. So go check that out in Article 215 for feeders. All right, because you really got to, do some calculations here. When you're sizing that feeder, you got to take the continuous load at 125%. Then you're going to take that non-continuous load at 100%. All right, but I know everybody does that every single time they do a sub panel. I know you just do it automatically. All right, so again, when I think of a feeder, I think of that main breaker panel, and I put that 2-pole breaker, and I'm going to be feeding that sub panel. And a lot of people, let me tell you, a lot of people get a feeder and a branch circuit confused all the time. When I'm talking to an electrician and they're telling me, let's say for instance, they're installing a receptacle outlet, let's say for the kitchen counter, and they say that they're going to run a feeder, to power up that receptacle outlet. And I just look at them. I said, do you know you're mixing up words here and you're making me all kinds of crazy because I don't think that you know what you're talking about here. So somehow, some way, somebody taught them something, and now they got all these terms confused. And I've seen in boxes, in receptacle boxes, that somebody will write on, let's say on that piece of NM cable, which everybody calls Romex for the most part, and they call it feed. And now they think that's a feeder. Well, no, that's a branch circuit. So let's read the definition of branch circuit. And again, that's going to be in Article 100. And from the code book, it says, the circuit conductors between the final overcurrent device protecting the circuit and the outlets. All right, so From that receptacle, that conductor that's connected, that's going back to the breaker, that's a branch circuit. And again, when you think about a feeder, what I do is I think about that main breaker panel. I'm going to put that 2-pole breaker in there. Let's say it's 100 amps. And I'm going to do a feeder to the sub panel. And again, you got to know what you're saying when you're talking to other electricians. Otherwise, you're just going to make everybody crazy. All right, so let's go back into our textbook and see what we got here. So it's very important that you understand the differences between feeders and branch circuits, especially when speaking with other electricians in the field, as you might confuse the heck out of everyone. Generally, when the circuit conductors receive their power from a source and terminate into a final branch circuit over current device, such as a circuit breaker, that will be a feeder. An example of a feeder would be the conductor to power up a subpanel from the main panel. Generally, when circuit conductors receive their power from a final overcurrent device, such as a circuit breaker, which then powers up receptacle outlets, for example, then those circuit conductors are called branch circuits. And again, the answer to this question is going to be C, and that's going to be feeder. And that is in Article 100, definitions.